Hello, welcome to Advanced Algebra 2. We're in the third learning target, and we're trying to learn about imaginary numbers. Oh, man, imaginary numbers. I had a dream once. Hey, anyway, imaginary numbers are basically our way of dealing with square roots of negative numbers. And there's a little talky talk here, something highlighted in orange. It's probably important. Then we got some examples on how to simplify these square roots of negative numbers. Before now, you could just say, no thanks, and move on with your life. Now there's work to do. So, example 1, simplify the square root of negative 25. We're going to go ahead and potentially rewrite that as the square root of 25 times the square root of negative 1. Basically, I'm just kind of separating the positive stuff, which is the 25, in a square root, and then that negative 1 in a different square root. And the bell rang, must be true. So the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of negative 1 is I. So 5i is the answer. For the next one, we can go ahead and make the same change. Square root of negative 48 is the square root of 48 times the square root of negative 1. The square root of 48 is a little bit of work. 48 is not a perfect square. So that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Square root of negative 1 is just hanging out saying, what about me? And the 48 part, you got a couple pairs of 2's, so they'll make a 4 on the outside with a leftover square root of 3. And then the I. I remember I. Anyway, 4 times the square root of 3, I. Please be careful to not make the I underneath the square root. So make sure you stop the square root symbol before you draw the I. Okay, fun times. Next business is complex numbers. Now, complex numbers are great because it's all the numbers. Well, that's kind of a lie. It's all the numbers you'd ever deal with in high school. It's real and imaginary numbers combined, and we're going to make a graph of these. We'll do more later in a couple weeks, but for now we're just going to make a graph. So, for example, graph 3 plus 6i. Okay, you're like, that's a number. But now I have a grid. Notice the axes have changed. Instead of x and y axes, we're talking about r and I axes for real and imaginary numbers. Knowing that, 3 plus 6i means you go over 3 on the real axis and up 6 on the I axis, and so dot 3 plus 6i's right there. A different example, 2 minus 4i. Go over 2 on the real axis and negative 4 on the I axis. So 2 down 4. 2 minus 4i is right there. It's literally just graphing x-y pairs. They just look different. We could do 8 more examples, and they would not get any more interesting. It's just graphing dots. The numbers look different this time. Last bit, and this is the real work, is solving all the quadratic equations, because now we have our increasing abilities. You might see what I did with the eyes there, with imaginary numbers. So, for example, we have x squared plus 2x plus 2 equals 0. Quadratic formula time. A and B and C. And then you go x equals the opposite of 2, plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4, 1, 2. All over 2, 1. And simplifying your way around, you'd have x equals negative 2, plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 8, all over 2. And then x equals the opposite of 2, plus or minus the square root of negative 4, all over 2. Normally, beforehand, we would be like, yeah, no, we're done here. Nope. But here, we can push on. And now, square root of negative 4 is really 2i. The negative part makes it the I, and then you're like, ooh, square root of 4, 2. Break it up with a plus and a minus, so negative 1 plus or minus 1i over 1. Sorry, I said break it up. Entirely false. What I meant was reduce. Negative 1 plus or minus I. You could write it twice if you want, but whatever. Next one, we've got a different situation. A is 4, B is negative 12, and C is 11. Rock and roll. X equals positive 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared minus 4 for 11. All over 2, 4. So we're talking about 12 plus or minus the square root of 144 minus a whole lot, so really negative 32 all over 8. All right, now 12 plus or minus, and square root of negative 32 is 4 root 2 I. So again, because it's negative, there's going to be an I, and then you just simplify square root of 32 just like normal. Here we can do some reducing. Everybody can be divided by 4. So it's 3 plus or minus 1 root 2 I over 2. And really, 1 root, nobody writes that. So 3 plus or minus root 2I over 2. Okay, we've got some brief notes, but there's some strangeness at the beginning, some real work at the end. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.